Okay, take 4 of day 2 of my homeless adventure. A couple of things before we get into today's diary entry or whatever. First of all, the reason this is my 4th take is not because of yesterday where I kept rambling and I was like, oh god, I don't like that video, I don't want to have to upload that, I sound like an idiot. I have come to the realisation that I am an idiot and I'm not the world's greatest talker, and I am going to ramble and I am going to have tangents, and my mind's like this and I'm thinking of 100 things, and it's hard for me to... I have a bullet points in my head of things I want to cover, and I can't remember if I've covered it. I've just decided, screw it. Record, talk. Like, again, I'm a guy in a tent, I don't have a computer to edit anything at all. I've got to do everything in one shot, just record it on my phone, upload it and be done. It is what it is. I'm sorry if the way I talk is annoying or if I'm rambling. It is what it is. Second point, I've already forgotten what the second point I wanted to bring up was, so let's just get into it. My first night wasn't great. First of all, like, if you're in nature, you hear sounds that you were going to hear nowhere else in life. Like, at one point it sounded like the Swans were having WrestleMania right outside my tent. It was insane. There was another, I'm pretty sure it was a bird call, but I've never heard a bird sound like this. It sounded like some kid was riding by on a motorcycle with a squeaky tyre. It was absolutely insane. But the worst thing was, at one certain point of the night, I did hear some voices. And when you hear voices and you're out in the middle of nowhere on your own in a tent, your mind kind of goes to places. And all I could hear was, and some other bloke. It was kind of... Your mind just goes to the worst thing, doesn't it? I'm sitting there thinking, oh my god, am I going to have to... Can they see me? Are these 2 drunk guys that are going to go, oh, let's have a laugh and pick on the homeless person? You know, is someone going to get punched? Because if it is, then it's not going to be me. Or at least hopefully. It was pretty scary. But what I should have remembered, turned out it was a Big Nothing Burger. Spoiler alert. When I was coming in yesterday, there's a field over here which you have no reference to. You do not know where I'm pointing to or where I am, for obvious reasons. But there's a field in a certain direction to my proximity, and on my way in I noticed there were decorations up, and not long after I heard these guys screaming, there was some very loud music playing. Ed Sheeran, which, you know, I like Ed Sheeran, big fan of Ed Sheeran, and some other like popular artists, and I think there was just some sort of music festival going on in there. For a while there I was a bit like, oh crap, you know, other humans, shit. Then come to the point, so I ended up, it was quite nice and cosy in the tent for a while, for a little bit at least. I sat down, I had Kershaw on, I was streaming Kershaw. If anyone knows if you can just do audio only on Twitch, please tell me how to do so, because I want to reserve my data, obviously, and I wasn't watching the video, I only had it on background. I had it on the lowest resolution to try and keep my data usage to a minimum so I don't burn through my allowance. I'm about 50% through it already. But yeah, so I watched Kershaw till about 12 o'clock, and then I was like, okay, time to get to bed. And that's when things started to get sucky. As soon as 12 o'clock hit, the temperature just dropped, and it was so cold. I could not get comfortable for the life of me. Although I'd moved a lot of twigs and like tried to flatten out as much of the land as I could, there was still a couple of twigs that were in places that were very inconvenient when you're trying to lie down and get comfortable, poking themselves into places they really shouldn't be poking. So I was kind of having to navigate around them and you know, lie in slightly strategic ways to circumvent that. If I lied on my back, there was like a dip in the ground, and that was super uncomfortable. It felt all right. In fact, on my back was the most comfortable position I could sleep in. But because of how, the land not being flat and the pressure on my lower back, after a while it did start to hurt, and then it started to really hurt. So I'd flip over onto my side, and then when I'm on my side, it's digging into my hip and it's digging into my rib cage, and that was super uncomfortable. And that just got the pain just got worse the more I lied like that. So I was constantly flipping back and forth, and I just could not sleep at all. I was checking the clock. First of all, it was like 1 o'clock, then 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I got up, let the dog out so he could have a wee, had a little walk around, stretched my legs, sat back down, was like, crap, I'm going to watch EastEnders, screw it. Watched EastEnders on my phone. Yes, I watch EastEnders, I'm an EastEnders fan, I don't care what you have to say, it's a show. Yeah, okay, it's not great, but it's a habit. My ex got me into it many, many moons ago, and I'm invested. I know all the characters, and I'm particularly invested at the moment with George's storyline. I do like the Knight family, and Whitney as well. I've always been a big fan of Whitney. Anyway, tangent. So, 3 o'clock rolls around, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock is the last time I remember checking my phone, and then the next thing I remember is waking up. It's broad daylight, and it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. So I lie there for a bit, still super uncomfortable, and the thing that's going through my head is I need to fix this. I need to make this tent more comfortable, not just for me, because the absolute worst thing about last night was the temperature. It was cold as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it was so cold. The worst part of last night was Elliot. He was cuddling up to me, which was sweet and everything, but he was shivering, and I felt absolutely horrible because he was shivering, because I was failing as my job to make things comfortable for him. So I'm lying here in the morning and I'm thinking to myself, right, what do I need to sort this out? And I'm thinking, well, first of all, I need a sleeping bag for myself. Second of all, I need some form of like a duvet cover or blanket or something for the dog. Wasn't sure. I'd only got £20 in my bank account this morning, so I didn't have the money really to buy anything, so I was kind of at the mercy of this charity and hoping this charity could help me. So I phoned the charity up. The woman on the reception says, oh look, yeah, you can come in, you need to register. It will be 10:30 registrations, then you'll need to stick around till 12 o'clock when we actually open up, and you can get some lunch. So I get there for 10:30, I'm on the intercom, and they're like, sorry, we don't open till 12. I'm like, yes, but I'm here for registrations, and I'm told that registrations are at 10:30. And there was a little bit of a silence, and they're like, who told you that? So I don't know, the person on the phone. Oh, no, come back at 12. I'm like, oh. And I didn't get angry, I didn't get irate or anything, but I was disgruntled a little bit, because I was like, I've come all this way, I'm knackered, like, I could have just stayed at the tent for an extra hour and a half or whatever, and come for 12, had I been told. But there was a bit more back and forth, and eventually they were like, do you know what, okay, come in, sit down, we'll do your registration now, and then you'll be ready for when 12 o'clock comes around. And the staff at the charity, I just want to say, absolutely fantastic. Thought they were great people. No sooner had I been sat at the desk, the guy from the kitchen comes in and puts down a little water bowl for Elliot. He's like, here you go, mate. Which I appreciated. That was really nice. I mean, I had my bottled water. I carry at least 3 bottles of water around with me at all times. 2 for me and one for the dog, basically. But that was really nice of them. And then not long after that, he comes back and he's got a blue carrier bag and he's like, here's some dog food. And I'm like, wow, that's really thoughtful of you. But I pointed over to my bag and went, he's got like 2 months worth of dog food over in that bag. Like, the one thing I don't need is more dog food. But thank you very much. Keep it to someone else that needs it more than I do. But that was, it's really nice of them to. Everyone obviously, when you got a dog, everyone's like, oh, doggy, yay, I want to pet the doggy. How old is he? What's his name? What's his sex? Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's a dog. But people are being nice, and everyone loves a dog, or most people love a dog. But yeah, so I sat down, and the registration was a bit weird. I'm not really going to get into that, because it is just clown world in 2024, isn't it? But I went through registration, and one of the questions the guy asked me was, how are you sleeping, where are you sleeping, blah blah blah. And so that's when I got into the whole, oh well, it was cold, I was uncomfortable, I've not got a sleeping bag. And his eyes just went, one moment, I will get you a sleeping bag. And he got up and he just walked away. I was like, I'm halfway through registration here, mate, do you not want to finish it before anything else? And he was gone for a good 10-15 minutes. And even he was sat next to a lady, and one of the other workers walked past and said to the lady, oh, I forget the name, but like, oh, so-and-so's gone off site. And she went absolutely mental. She was like, he's gone off site, he's got my fob. Why has he gone off site with my fob? Like, he forgot his fob today, and he's taken mine, and now he's just gone outside the building. And he went, yeah, he's gone to get something. She's like, oh, I can't believe this. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh crap, I started. But the guy comes back, he's got a sleeping bag, boom, puts it on the table, and it's like, here you go, you need that. Thank you. That was one of the things I needed. Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. So I did registration, stood around talking to people, and yeah, I mean, I don't know really. There's some people there that you kind of expect to see in a homeless shelter, but there are so many people there that you do not expect to see at a homeless shelter. And some stories, I'm not going to get into it, because I don't want to farm other people's, lives or stress or trauma or whatever for content. But I do want to just draw attention to one particular person I spoke to. Now this guy, he is my Yoda. I've instantly got a lot of respect for this guy. So while I'm sat there on my own, I'm eating my sandwich, trying to stop the dog from jumping up at people and stealing other people's food, trying to keep the dog in check. And I must have looked a little bit lost, because this guy I noticed this guy looking at me, and he just smiles and says, how long? I was like, 4 days, technically 1. And he laughed to himself and nodded and went, come here. So I went and sat with him, and he was like, first things first, where are you positioned, where are you're setting up? And I said, oh, I've got this little spot out in this area. I didn't say the exact area. I'd never say the exact area. I've got this little spot here. It's secluded. It's relatively safe. People shouldn't be bothering me. And he's like, great, fantastic. That's the most important thing. And he looks over at all my equipment. And I don't think he knew that I'd just picked up the sleeping bag. But he's like, second of all, why are you carrying it around with you? Because I don't want it to get stolen. I want someone to take my home. I know it's just a tent, but it's still my home. And he kind of chuckled to himself. It's like, look, you don't have to, just leave your tent. He's like, do it up. If you've got a padlock, maybe you can pop a padlock on it, but like he said, just leave it. If someone steals your tent, if someone steals your sleeping bag, if someone steals your blankets and stuff, he's like, trust me, like, you can get them replaced very, very easily. It's like, it's amazing the sort of stuff you can pick up when you're homeless from just charities and people and that. And then he's like, second of all, he was like, speaking along those lines sort of thing. He was stroking the dog, and he was going, what are you doing with the dog? Like, how's the dog sick? I know you said you were uncomfortable. Like, is the dog comfortable? I was like, well, no, not really. I need to find something. I don't know, I'm thinking of getting this or whatever. And he was like, when are you coming? He's like, when are you next coming in? And I was like, Friday. He goes, like, I'll bring some blankets. And he goes, I have got so many blankets, I don't need them all. It's like, I'll bring in like 3 or so for you, and you can turn that into a little bed for him. Mate, that's awesome. So that's another thing sorted that I was worried about. So this guy was an absolute legend, but where it gets a little heartbreaking, at least for me, was when I got talking to him about him and his story. We didn't really actually get into thinking about it. Well, I didn't really ask him, how did you end up homeless in the first place? But I was like, he asked me, how long have you been homeless? So returned the question and said, how long have you been homeless? And he goes, 5 months. And I was like, 5 months, wow. And the council haven't done anything. It's like that. And that bit I don't find shocking. I'm fully expecting the council to absolutely do nothing to help me. But this guy, first of all, I mean, he can walk, but he has mobility, pre-existing mobility disabilities. Like, he does struggle to walk somewhat, to the point where he does have a walker to help him. He has a disability badge for getting around on the buses, which he got before becoming homeless. And also, and this, in all fairness, in all transparency, just to be completely honest, I don't know if this happened before or after becoming homeless, but he also has cancer. He has been diagnosed with cancer. And you look around that place, and you can sit there and you can say, like, I don't want to sit there and say, you know, some people deserve housing and some people don't, because everyone deserves housing. And, you know, we find ourselves in these situations where we are kind of, you know, where you do find yourself to be homeless. But I mean, if the guy with mobility issues and cancer isn't getting seen to, isn't being put to the top of that list, I'm sorry, but we are doing something wrong. Like, if I get a call within the next few days and they say to me, hey, we found you a place, like, you can move in, like, within a week or whatever, I'm like, no, give it to this guy. This guy needs a fucking roof over his head. Like, we don't know what stage the cancer's at, or, you know, but this guy needs some bit of freaking comfort. He can't be, for me, I mean, I'm sitting there saying this is uncomfortable, but I'm just thinking about this poor guy living in this way, in his condition. I mean, when I go over it, it does kind of make me a little bit angry, and just going over it now and obviously recapping it for the video. But god damn, like, I'm sorry, this country is doing something seriously wrong if people like this are struggling to find accommodation. But yeah, that's the story of my new friend. And I definitely, tomorrow, I am definitely having a rest. And I'm chilling out all day. I'm going to get some meditation in. I'm going to heal both body and mind. I've got everything I need for the next few days. And I'm going to take it out. And then Friday I'm heading back down to the charity to get some more food. Maybe take a shower. That might come into Saturday. I'm going to go down Friday and Saturday. I'm going to meet my new friend and catch up with him, and then we'll see what happens for there. But that's all for today. Now, I was going to show you the new and improved camping site. I have made some changes, but I'm kind of charging the phone as we speak, so I can't really be carrying it around right now. So perhaps we'll do that tomorrow. When all I consider and say is, hey, I'm homeless, I've sat by a lake all day. I mean, that's not going to be very interesting, so maybe we can do a little tour of the campsite then. But until then, I'll see you later, whatever.